Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Podcast with FTJ. I'm Jennifer, and I'm very happy you're here today.
Hi, friends. I'm Jack. We learn English with easy words and real conversation.
Today's topic is very special. We're going to talk about your year.
Yes, don't worry. This lesson is for beginners, so we will speak slowly and use simple English.
Jack, when we say your year, what does it mean?
Good question. It means talking about what happened this year, good things, hard things, and everyday life.
That's right. There is no right or wrong answer.
You can share a lot or share a little. Either way works for me. I'm easygoing about it.
Great expression, Jack. Today, our listeners will learn how to talk about their year naturally.
So relax, take a deep breath, and let's start together.
All right, Jack, let's begin. When people talk about their year, what is the first thing they can talk about?
They can start with a simple feeling. For example, they can say, "This year was good," or "This year was hard."
That's very easy and very useful. You don't need long sentences.
Yes, short sentences are perfect for beginners. You can also say, "This year was busy," or "This year was quiet."
Nice examples. Jack, can you share one simple sentence about your year?
Sure, I can say, "This year was busy, but I learned a lot."
That's a great sentence. It's simple, clear, and very natural.
Thank you. Learners can also talk about work or study.
Right. For example, you can say, I studied English this year, or I started a new job.
Exactly. You don't need to explain everything.
And if someone asks you questions, it's okay.
Yes, you can answer slowly. There is no rush.
That's very important to remember. English is about communication, not perfection.
So, in this part, we want our listeners to remember one thing.
Start simple. Talk about your year with easy words and honest feelings. Now, let's move to the next part. In this part, we talk about good moments from the year.
Yes, everyone has at least one good moment. It can be big or small.
For example, you can say, I was happy this year, or I had some good days.
That's right. You can also talk about family or friends.
Like this, I spent more time with my family, or I made a new friend.
Very natural sentences. Learners should not worry about grammar too much.
Now, Jack, can we also talk about difficult moments?
Of course, life is not perfect, and that is okay.
What are some easy sentences for difficult times?
You can say, "This year was challenging," or "Some days were hard for me."
Those sentences are honest and simple.
Yes, you can also say, "I felt tired," or "I felt stressed sometimes."
And it's okay to share that.
Exactly. English is a tool to express real feelings.
Now, let's talk about changes.
Changes are important. You can say, "I changed my routine," or "I learned something new."
Nice. Even small changes matter.
Yes, for example, "I woke up earlier," or "I practiced English more."
That's perfect for beginners.
So, in this part, listeners learn how to talk about good moments, hard moments, and changes.
Slowly, simply, and honestly. Now, let's talk about daily life. Daily life is a big part of your year.
Yes, when people talk about their year, they often talk about what they did every day.
That's right. Daily life means your normal routine.
For example, you can talk about work or study.
You can say, I worked every day, or I studied at home this year.
Or you can say, "I went to school," or I worked from home.
These sentences are simple and very useful.
You can also talk about your schedule.
Yes, you can say, I was very busy, or I had a simple routine.
Some people may say, my days were long, or my days were quiet.
Both are correct. Everyone's daily life is different.
You can also talk about habits.
For example, I woke up early, or I slept late.
Or I cooked at home, or I ate outside sometimes.
Very good examples. These are real-life sentences.
You don't need long stories.
Short sentences are enough.
The most important thing is to be clear.
And honest.
So when you talk about your year, remember this.
Daily life shows how you lived your year. Now, let's talk about learning. Many people learned something new this year.
Yes, learning is very important. It can be small or big.
For example, you can say, I learned new skills, or I learned English this year.
You can also say, I learned to cook, or I learned to play a game.
Yes, learning doesn't have to be difficult. It can be something simple but useful.
Exactly. Even learning small things is good.
Jack, can you give another example for beginners?
Sure. You can say, I learned how to use a computer, or I learned to ride a bicycle.
Those are very natural sentences. Even beginners can use them easily.
Yes, you can also talk about learning from mistakes.
That's a good point. You can say, I made mistakes, but I learned from them.
Exactly. That is a very useful sentence. It shows that learning doesn't always come from success.
And you can also talk about hobbies. For example, I learned to draw, or I learned to sing.
Yes, hobbies are part of learning too. It makes your year interesting.
Even small progress is important. You can say, I practiced English every day, or I practiced drawing a little every day.
Very good. And don't forget, you can combine learning with feelings. For example, I felt happy when I learned something new.
Yes, that sentence is perfect. It is simple, clear, and shows your feelings.
So in this part, we talked about learning new skills, learning from mistakes, hobbies, and small progress.
Remember, learning is everywhere. You don't need to study in school only.
Yes, every day can teach you something.
That's why talking about learning is a great way to talk about your year.
Exactly. It makes your conversation real and easy.
Now, let's talk about feelings. Feelings are very important when talking about your year.
Yes, you can talk about happy or sad feelings. For example, I felt happy this year.
And also, I felt proud, or I felt nervous sometimes.
Exactly. Feelings can be different for every person.
Jack, can you give an example of a sentence about a difficult feeling?
Sure, you can say, sometimes I felt sad, or I felt stressed at work.
That's good. Simple and clear. You can also say, I felt tired, or I felt worried.
Yes, and it is okay to mix feelings. For example, I felt happy, but sometimes I felt nervous.
That's very natural. Life has both good and hard moments.
And you can talk about feelings with friends or family. For example, I felt happy when I spent time with my family.
Or, I felt proud when I finished my project.
Yes, sharing feelings makes your conversation more real.
And you can also talk about how you feel now. For example, now I feel calm, or now I feel thankful.
Very important. You can compare your feelings from the past to now. For example, at the start of the year, I felt nervous, but now I feel confident.
That's an excellent sentence. It is simple, easy, and shows your progress.
So today, when you talk about your year, don't forget to share your feelings. Happy, proud, tired, nervous, all feelings are okay.
Yes, feelings make your conversation honest and interesting.
Exactly. and beginners can start with short sentences and expand later.
So the key is simple. Talk honestly and clearly. Now, Jack, let's talk about people. People make our year special.
Yes, Jennifer. You can talk about family, friends, classmates, or coworkers.
For example, you can say, my family supported me this year, or my friends helped me.
Exactly. Or you can say, I met new people this year, or I made a new friend.
That's very useful. Even a small sentence like, I spent time with my family is perfect.
Yes, short and simple sentences work best for beginners.
Jack, can we also talk about coworkers or teachers?
Of course, you can say, my teacher taught me many things, or my coworkers helped me at work.
Great examples. You can also talk about how people made you feel. For example, I felt happy with my friends, or I felt supported by my family.
Yes, feelings are important when talking about people. It shows the listener why that person mattered.
And don't forget neighbors or community. You can say, I met nice neighbors, or I joined a local group this year.
That's a good point. Even small interactions are part of your year.
So, when you talk about your year, you can combine actions and feelings. For example, I spent time with my family and I felt happy.
Exactly. Or, I worked with my team and I felt proud.
Perfect. Beginners can start simple. I met my friends or I spent time with my family. Then you can add feelings.
Yes, step by step. That is natural and easy to say.
So, in this part, we learned talk about family, friends, teachers, coworkers, neighbors, and combine feelings and actions.
That's right. Talking about people makes your story about the year real and interesting.
Exactly. And remember, even small sentences are enough. The most important thing is to speak honestly. Now, Jack, let's talk about proud moments. Everyone has at least one moment they are proud of.
Yes, Jennifer. It can be something big or small. Even small achievements are important.
For example, you can say, I am proud of myself this year, or I finished an important task.
Exactly. You can also say, I completed a project, or I improved my English.
Those are very natural sentences. Even beginners can use them easily.
Yes, you can also talk about personal growth. For example, I became more confident, or I became more patient.
I like that. It shows not just what you did, but who you became.
Yes, and you can also combine feelings. For example, I felt proud when I helped someone, or I felt happy when I finished my work.
That's perfect. Short, simple sentences are enough. You don't need long stories.
Exactly, and even small things count. You can say, I learned to cook a new dish, or I organized my room.
Those are great examples. Simple daily achievements are also proud moments.
Yes, and it's okay if your achievements are small. Every step forward is important.
So, when you talk about your year, remember to include your proud moments. It makes your story positive and interesting.
Yes, and beginners can start simple. I am proud of myself, or I learned something new. Then they can add feelings or details later.
Exactly. Talking about proud moments helps you feel confident and makes your conversation stronger. Now, Jack, let's talk about mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, and that's okay.
Yes, Jennifer, mistakes are normal part of life. They help us learn and grow.
Exactly. You can start with a simple sentence. I made some mistakes this year.
Yes, and then you can add what you learned. For example, I made some mistakes, but I learned from them.
That's a very useful sentence. It is simple and positive.
Yes, and you can give examples. For example, I forgot to do my homework, but I learned to be more careful.
Or, I argued with a friend, but I learned to listen more.
Exactly. That shows real experiences, and it helps your English sound natural.
Even small mistakes are okay to talk about. You can say, I tried something new and it was difficult, but I learned.
Yes, and you can combine feelings. For example, I felt nervous when I made a mistake, but I felt happy when I learned something new.
Perfect. That shows your year honestly. Mistakes are part of life, and sharing them is good.
And remember, beginners can start simple. I made mistakes, or I learned from mistakes. Later, you can add more details or feelings.
Exactly. Talking about mistakes is not negative. It is part of your story and shows that you are growing.
Yes, and it also makes your conversation more interesting. People like to hear real experiences, not just perfect stories.
So today, when you talk about your year, don't forget to include mistakes and lessons. It makes your story complete.
Exactly. Mistakes plus lessons equals learning plus growth. That's very simple and easy to remember.
Now, Jack, let's talk about the end of the year. It's a good time to think about everything that happened.
Yes, Jennifer. You can talk about how you feel now after all your experiences this year.
For example, you can say, now I feel thankful, or now I feel calm.
Yes, you can also say, now I feel happy, or now I feel proud of myself.
And even if the year was hard, you can say, now I feel stronger, or now I feel better than before.
Exactly. That's very important. It shows that you learned from your experiences.
Jack, can we also talk about lessons we learned this year?
Of course, you can say, this year I learned to be patient, or I learned to be more careful.
Or, I learned to help others, or I learned to manage my time better.
Yes, simple sentences like that are perfect for beginners.
You can also combine feelings and lessons. For example, I felt nervous at first, but now I feel confident because I learned something new.
That's an excellent sentence. It shows your progress and your feelings at the same time.
And you can also reflect on habits. For example, I started exercising this year, and now I feel healthier. Or I started reading more, and now I feel more knowledgeable.
Yes, you can even talk about mistakes and growth. For example, I made mistakes, but now I feel stronger because I learned from them.
And talking about people is good too. For example, I spent more time with my friends, and now I feel happier. Or I got support from my family, and now I feel thankful.
Yes, that's perfect. End-of-year reflections can include feelings, lessons, achievements, people, and growth.
Jack, what about simple sentences for beginners who want to start small?
They can start with, now I feel happy. Now I feel calm. Now I feel proud.
And then they can add more details. Now I feel happy because I spent time with my family. Now I feel proud because I learned English.
Exactly. Step by step. Start simple, then add details. That's natural English.
So today, when you talk about your year, remember to reflect. Talk about feelings, lessons, achievements, people, and growth.
Yes, end-of-year reflections make your story complete. It shows how much you grew and what you learned.
And don't forget, even small changes are important. You can say, I started waking up early, and now I feel more energetic.
Or I tried a new hobby, and now I feel more confident.
Exactly. All these sentences are easy and real.
Yes, talking about your year helps you practice English and share your story naturally.
Now, Jack, let's talk about the next year. It's good to think about what we want to do and how we want to grow.
Yes, Jennifer. You can start with a simple sentence. Next year, I want to improve. Or, next year, I want to learn more.
Exactly. And you can also talk about feelings. For example, next year I want to feel happy, or next year I want to feel confident.
Yes, that's very natural. You can also combine goals and actions. For example, next year I want to study English every day. Or next year I want to exercise more.
Great examples. And you can also talk about personal growth. For example, next year I want to be more patient, or next year I want to be more positive.
Yes, simple sentences are enough for beginners. You can also add small details. For example, next year I want to wake up early and study English. Or next year I want to eat healthy food and exercise.
And don't forget hobbies. For example, next year I want to learn to draw, or next year I want to play a new sport.
Yes, hobbies make life fun. Even small goals are good to talk about. For example, next year I want to read more books. Or next year I want to cook new dishes.
Jack, what about combining goals with feelings again? For example, next year I want to practice English and I want to feel confident.
Exactly. That is perfect. It shows your plan and your hope at the same time.
And it's okay if you are not sure yet. You can say, next year I want to try new things, or next year I want to learn something new.
Yes, simple sentences like that are very natural. Even beginners can say them easily.
So in this part, we learned how to talk about next year, goals, hopes, hobbies, and feelings. You can start simple, then add details.
Exactly. Talking about the future makes your conversation positive and interesting.
And remember, you can use small sentences like, I want to, I will, or I hope to.
Yes, those are easy phrases and they work in every conversation about the future.
So now, listeners, think about what you want to do next year and try to speak about it in English.
Yes, it's a good way to practice and prepare for the future.
Now we have reached the final part of our podcast. Let's review everything we talked about this year.
Yes, Jennifer. Today, we talked about your year, your daily life, learning and skills, feelings, people, proud moments, mistakes, end-of-year reflections, and next-year goals.
That's right. And remember, all sentences can be simple. Even beginners can speak naturally with short sentences.
Exactly. You can start with small sentences like, I worked every day. I learned new skills. I felt happy. I spent time with my friends.
Yes, and then you can add more details, like I learned English and I felt proud. I spent time with my family and I felt happy. I made mistakes, but I learned from them.
Very natural and simple. Talking about your year is not just about events. It's about feelings, people, lessons, and growth.
And don't forget to talk about the next year. You can say, next year, I want to learn more English. Next year, I want to try new hobbies. Next year, I want to be happier and healthier.
Exactly. Even small goals are important. You can also combine goals with feelings. For example, I want to practice English and I want to feel confident. I want to exercise more and I want to feel healthy.
Jack, it's also important to reflect honestly. You can say, this year was challenging, but I learned a lot. This year was fun, and I felt happy. I had some hard days, but now I feel stronger.
Yes, that makes your story real and interesting. And remember, every part of your year matters, big or small. Daily life, learning, feelings, people, achievements, mistakes, all of it is important.
So, listeners, here is a simple way to organize your story about the year. Talk about daily life, talk about learning and new skills, talk about feelings, talk about people who mattered, talk about proud moments and achievements, talk about mistakes and lessons, reflect on the end of the year, talk about next year, goals and hopes.
Exactly. And beginners can start with short sentences, then add details and feelings. The key is to speak honestly and clearly.
Yes, and practicing this in English helps you speak naturally, share your story, and gain confidence.
So now, try to talk about your own year in English. You can write it down or speak with a friend or even record yourself.
And remember, it's okay if you make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning and growing.
Yes, the most important thing is to start speaking. Don't wait for perfect English.
And remember these simple phrases. I felt, I learned, I spent time, I made mistakes. Next year, I want to...
Yes, use these phrases. Mix them with your own words and practice every day.
Thank you so much for listening to English Podcast with FTJ.
Yes, keep practicing, keep speaking, and enjoy your English learning journey.
We hope your year was wonderful, and we hope your next year will be even better.
See you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everyone. Remember to speak honestly, practice daily, and enjoy your journey.
Goodbye. Keep learning and have a great year ahead.